Hello, and welcome to another Thursday live stream from Viking Television. I'm Anne Diamond, and I'm speaking to you from my little village in Buckinghamshire in the UK, where we are still in lockdown. But we are allowed out for one daily walk, and today the weather is spectacularly sunny and warm, and I've been barbecuing in the garden. But I've come indoors now to settle down and meet the most remarkable young man who I'm going to be so proud to introduce you to you. So please sit back yourself and enjoy this, because you are in for a cultural, inspirational, and actually spiritual uplifting. And believe me, this young man is in the business of lifting. Before I tell you his name, and before we talk to him, let me just show you what this amazing young man can do. Here he is, center stage at the Mariinsky Theatre in St. Petersburg in Russia. And this is what God-given talent and 26 years of dedication and hard work actually produces. Wow. If you've ever been lucky enough to join one of Viking's wonderful river cruises in Russia, then you might well have stopped at St. Petersburg and even gone along to the Mariinsky Theatre, and you might even have seen the ballet, in which case you will have seen my guest in action. Before we actually meet him, let me show you one of my favourite pictures of him, or a couple of my favourite pictures, because these are spectacular, and I think they just show, well, something you can barely understand. Now, although he lives in Russia now, I'm proud to tell you he's a Brit, born and brought up here in the UK, trained by the Royal Ballet, no less, but in search of greater artistic performance, or perhaps a better chance to shine, he took the courageous step of going to live and work in a country where, frankly, he didn't even know one word of the language. Oh, my goodness, it was the right move. He is now a legend on both sides of the Bosphorus and beyond. In the States, since his sensational appearances, I think in New York, he is Hollywood gold, or he's like that. So let me introduce you to Xander Parish in St. Petersburg. Xander, hello.
Hi, Anne. Nice to join you. How are you doing?
It's nice to join. How are you? What's lockdown where you are? What's life like for you suddenly now?
Well, it's very hard, to be honest, because the Mariinsky Theatre is locked down, of course, like every other theatre in the world right now. And for any dancer to not be able to dance is really difficult. So we had our last performance in the Mariinsky back in March, on the 17th of March, so quite a while ago now. We've all been home since, trying to do our stretches and our exercises in our apartments. And that's where I am right now.
And I mean, it must be so frustrating for you as a dancer not to be able to perform, because that's what you're about. How do you practice?
Oh, goodness. I mean, that's almost impossible, to be honest. I mean, you try to maintain a level of fitness. I'm allowed out, like you are back in England. So I do running. Today I've been for a run already. I do my stretches, I do Pilates. I grab onto my radiator and do a ballet bar. things like this to try and keep the muscles working. Yeah, I'm serious.
What are the most important muscles you have to keep working? Because I've seen you talk about you have to keep the back of your legs very, very strong, and presumably your core muscles very strong.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the body is a finely tuned instrument for any dancer. And I can't say there's any one group that's more important than the other because they all work together. I mean, for jumping, particularly the muscles in the legs, obviously, is what propels you into the air when you're doing your jumps. And I can feel a difference when I stop working or have a break. That's what seems to go first. You know, you feel the lack of power compared to when you're in shape. But I mean, but to have that strength to jump, you need to have a stable center, and your abdominals, everything works. Even your arms work when you're jumping. So it's everything together.
So at the moment, could you go out for a walk and into the park and do some jumps, or maybe with I don't know.
I certainly could.
You've got to keep up your fitness level.
Well, that's why.
But it would look strange.
Maybe, but that's okay.
And what about how do you keep in touch with everybody, with your family and everything during this?
Yeah, I call my mum, my dad, and my sister pretty much every day on FaceTime or Skype. They're back in Yorkshire, in England. My younger sister is heavily pregnant right now, so she's been very careful. She's not going out. It's very exciting for our family, of course.
Yes, wonderful. And your younger sister is somebody. Was it really her ballet lessons that sort of inspired you to take up ballet yourself?
That's exactly right. Yeah, we're from East Yorkshire, near Hull, and when I was around 8 years old, I went with my mum and dad to see De Melzer performing a school show, some ballet. And apparently, I don't really remember, but my mum tells me apparently I turned to her and was like, "Why is Melzy on stage and I'm sat here on a chair? I want to be on stage too. It looks fun." And so with that, I went to ballet classes and started along with her to do training.
And someone somewhere along the line must have said, "He's good. He's got it." Did they? Was it very obvious from an early stage?
I mean, I was good at running around and burning energy. Football, tennis, cricket, everything I could do, I was doing. My ballet teacher in Hull when I was 8 was Vanessa Hooper, and she encouraged my talent and sent my sister and myself to junior associates at Royal Ballet School. Eventually, we joined the Ballet Lodge at the Royal Ballet School, moved to London, did training there from being 11 years old, and I guess eventually it comes together, But it's hard for a young child to decide what their future is going to be at 11. So.
Yeah, because I gather at one point you really wanted to be a professional cricketer, didn't you?
That was my dream. I mean, for any Englishman, actually any Yorkshireman, to be a cricketer, I think, is the pinnacle of life. So it was when I was a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old. Darren Gough was my hero, and I wanted to be the next Darren Gough. But here I am, being a ballet dancer in Russia. So
I know. Yes. Absolutely. What a trade-in. It's fascinating as well, because even when you and your sister went to White Lodge, the academy for the Royal Ballet School, even then you made history because you were the first brother and sister to do so together, weren't you?
Yes, that's right. It was very unusual at the time. There'd been sisters together, there'd been a couple of other siblings, but not brother and sister at the same time in the school, and we happened to be there at the same time. I joined maybe a year and a half before my sister did, and then we went through the school together and eventually joined the Royal Ballet at the same time. Already maybe 15 years ago, no, 10, I don't know, a long time ago anyway, we joined the Royal Ballet.
A long time ago, and it was many years of dedication. And of course, I suppose the ultimate aim when you're at the Royal Ballet School is to be invited to join the Royal Ballet, the Corps de Ballet. Yeah. And there were only 3 of you, I think, in your year that were offered that chance, and you were one of them.
I was one of them, and it was quite a shock as well. I mean, it was a huge privilege to be invited, and you drop everything and you say yes, of course, because that's what you're programmed to do from being a child at Royal Ballet School. It's your dream.
It's the dream, but when you join I didn't really understand this until I started reading about your days there. When you join the Corps de Ballet, you're sort of you're in the back row, aren't you? You're in fact, didn't you say once that you spent years as a sort of spear carrier?
I was a very good spear carrier. How do you know? I served my time faithfully in the Royal. I had a wonderful time working there. It's an amazing company, amazing theatre in Covent Garden, the heart of London, the best ballet company in the UK, and I was watching some of the greatest dancers in the world at that time, doing right in front of my eyes all that work, Sleeping Beauty, Swan Lake, everything. I was there, just on the back line, holding my spear, wearing high heels and a funny costume and a wig. I was still there, and I was learning and watching, and it was my dream to do what they were doing, but it never materialized in the Royal.
And is that the case? Is that how it is for most dancers? You have to serve your years behind as a spear carrier, or as in your case, I think once you were a mother pig in the Beatrix Potter Ballet.
Wow, you have researched well. I'm impressed. You researched very well. That's correct. That was my final role in London before I moved to Russia.
You see, that's what's so interesting, because by then, but before you were a mother pig, I think you had met somebody who made the whole difference to your life.
That's right.
Explain. It's theory, isn't it? Explain what happened.
Okay, so I'd been in the Royal Ballet for about 3 years. I was starting my 4th season in the Covent Garden, and I was about 21, 22 at this time, and a gentleman came to London from St. Petersburg. He was a coach, a ballet master in the Mariinsky Theatre, but I didn't actually know that at the time. I just knew this guy came from Russia, and he was teaching a class for 2 weeks in London. And so he came to the Royal Ballet. He was a guest teacher. He set ballet class for our company for 2 weeks. And during that time, he was just such an inspirational man. This guy could convey technique, ballet, all the nuts and bolts of ballet dancing. He could just convey to me instantly in his classes. And it wasn't just me in class. It was maybe 80 people taking ballet classes and 40, 50, whatever. But he would give me attention, which I wasn't used to. At that time in the Royal Ballet, I was in the Corps of Ballet. I was starved of attention. I was a guy in the back, and I wanted some attention. This guy would come to me and correct me, physically manhandle my legs, put me in the right position. Ballet is a physical sport. You have to be manhandled to learn. And so he would come, it would hurt, he'd manhandle my legs, put me in the right position, make me jump higher. And I thought, wow, this guy's amazing. And then I knew he was leaving. On the last day of his tenure in London, I just said to him, before you leave, please can I show you another jump? He was like, okay, давай, show me another jump. So I did a jump. And then we ended up just after class together doing one-on-one coaching for half an hour in the studio when everyone else had left. I was just soaking up his corrections and all he was teaching me. And it was just so inspirational for a young 22-year-old. I was just soaking it all up, And then he left. That was that. I went back to Mother Pig, whatever important role I was doing that night. And then 6 months later, this same man became director of ballet at the Mariinsky Theatre. And he remembered me. And he asked somebody, how's that young boy in London doing, who had the long legs and nice feet? Is he still holding spears? Is he dancing yet? And someone said, oh, he's just doing the Corps of Ballet. He's not doing anything in particular. And he said, well, tell him to come to Russia if he wants to. I'll have him. He can come to my company. And they told me this, and I was like, some wires have got crossed. Maybe he doesn't know who I am. Maybe he thinks I'm someone who I'm not. Maybe he's got a bit crazy or something, because that doesn't happen, I mean, you say, like in English we say, you don't sell coal to Newcastle, and you don't really sell ballet to Russia. So I was like, something's a bit wrong here. So anyway, I ignored the invitation. I thought something's a bit wrong. But a year later, when I was already 23, I had another call from him, and he said, we're coming to London on tour with the Mariinsky Ballet for a London season. While we're in town, I'd like to see you. So please come to watch our shows and come and take class with me again. And I'd like to talk to you. So I did that. That was in August of 2009. And after that period of time in London, he said to me, so how's our company? Do you like the Mariinsky? I said, well, yeah, it's amazing. What can you say? It's like a young footballer saying, how's Man United? Like, it's all right.
Yes,
I was like, yeah, it's amazing. Okay. He was like, okay, come to Russia, come and join the company. And I thought he was joking. I sort of laughed a bit nervously, and it turned out he was being serious. And I said, look, I can't just come to Russia. You must be nuts. I'm nobody. I carry the spears in our productions here. I don't dance, Like, no, don't worry. It's not because you're a good dancer I want to take you, because I can see you're hungry to learn. And if you want to learn, come and I'll teach you. I said, wow. I said no, because I was terrified. I mean, to go to Russia on a whim like that, I thought he was absolutely barking mad. So I told him no. And then in September, I went back to London, back to my job, and I discussed it with my director at the time, and I figured that there was no way forward for me in the role to progress. Time was ticking. I wanted to start dancing, and so I wrote to him and accepted the job. And I turned up in Russia on a winter's day in January 2010, and that was that.
I know. I mean, literally, you were Mother Pig on the stage in London one night, and the next night you were on a plane to St. Petersburg. And that sort of almost says it all. But one heck of a risk, and actually a very bold step, because you were going into a country you knew nothing about, really, and you didn't even know one word of the language, and you were sacrificing. You were leaving a lot behind to do that. That must have been one heck of an emotional decision.
It was terrifying. It was exciting and terrifying. It was all mixed in together. It was like, I felt like one of these explorers from the 18th century going off to a jungle by himself and sort of chopping through the woods, you know, because for me it was so foreign. I'd only seen Russia in James Bond films, and I had no idea what to expect. And so I knew no Russian. I'd gone on one of my Russian colleagues in the Royal Ballet gave me a few lessons before I left and taught me some words and helped me. I found a YouTube channel, and so I learned a bit. You know, you turn to it in Russian, you're like blank. So I couldn't speak anything. I mean, it was impossible. The language is horribly hard, and so I envy those who come here as youngsters and they can, you know, really pick up the language quickly. I was being set French, so that's all I can say about language.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, maybe it's a sort of decision that only a young man of 21, 23, 21?
I was 23 at that time,
Yeah, maybe you can only take that sort of braver decision when you are 23. I don't know. But I remember as well, I think I saw a video of you saying that at least you'd learn to recognize, because Russian isn't just a different language, it's a different alphabet as well.
Yes.
It's spelled differently. And you had to learn to recognize the shape of your name just on the bulletin board in the ballet, so you knew when your classes were.
Yeah, every night when I first joined the company, I would spend half an hour in front of the notice board searching for my name and trying to make sure I got the right studio at the right time with the right repertoire. And it took about half an hour a day to try and figure out what I was doing the next day. And then eventually it gets a bit faster, 20 minutes, then 15, you know, eventually you could flick at it, look at it, and it goes in. But, you know, it took me a long time. I was no language buff, and that's not my strong point. So I wasn't exactly a fast learner for Russian.
And just to underline the headline that you were making in history at the time, you were the first ever British dancer to be imported, as it were, from Britain to Russia. Right. Usually it was always the other way around. Yeah,
I think I was the first Westerner to join the company.
Yeah, I think you were.
Possibly. There's been a few people who've been in and out, but to join full time, I think I was probably the first. So that's at least something.
What do you think the other dancers made of you? Do you think there was any resentment, or who's this upstart from Britain? Who does he think he is, or what?
Oh, sure, yes. I mean, when I first turned up, it wasn't just cold on the street. It was cold in the studios too, if you know what I mean. It was very difficult because I had no friends there. They didn't need me. I mean, these dancers are some of the best in the world. They've endured great hardship to go through the Vaganova Academy and train for years to become what they are. They're incredible dancers. I respect my colleagues enormously. And, you know, I mean, basically, I was the stray from London who was adopted into the company, which was very nice of my boss. But in the eyes of the dancers, maybe I was just a pet project for the boss, and why did they need me? You know, they had a lot of great dancers, and they still do. So.
And maybe it was just as well you didn't fully understand the language, so you couldn't hear what they were saying about you.
That still comes handy now, I can assure you.
Yeah. What were your first impressions when you got there? It was snowy, wasn't it?
Yes, the day I arrived was January.
What did you think of the place?
It was beautiful. I mean, on one hand, it was such a stark contrast to what I was used to. I mean, in London, you know, as you understand, we don't have severe winters. If it's -1 and a bit snowy, you know, it's a catastrophe. And so, you know, I landed in Petersburg one afternoon at 3 p.m., -15 Celsius, and maybe a meter of snow. And it was a warm day, apparently. There was a bad winter that year. This year wasn't like that, but it was still snowy. And I just thought, where on earth have I landed to? I wanted to stay on that BA plane and just go straight back home again. I didn't want to get off the plane, actually.
Yeah.
Because it was dark, pitch dark, 3 p.m. I was like, where am I? Yeah. I think it's January, so it was we have white nights in the summer, which are gorgeous, but then in the winter we have the opposite. You have the dark days, I suppose you could say. So my impressions were, it was just like being in an alien world. I hadn't experienced anything like it before because being from the UK, it's not something I was used to. And I remember being in a taxi from the airport. We got in the car, me and the interpreter. We headed over to the Mariinsky, and we turned the corner with piles of snow outside of the street, just mountains of snow. Turned the corner, and there was this green gem glittering in the ice and snow. And that was the Mariinsky Theatre, and I was like, wow. I've seen it so many times on films, on YouTube videos, on all sorts of documentaries, and there it was in front of me. I was just like, it was like something holy. It was just amazing. It was something special. And then, I went backstage, and you can feel the atmosphere of the dancers who've gone before you, Nijinsky, Nuria, Baryshnikov, these guys who actually danced there, cut their teeth on that stage and learnt their craft. It's something very special.
So we're going to show in a second a video of your first ever solo, I think, at the Mariinsky. How did it happen? Because it was, again, as so often happens, wasn't it because somebody had injured themselves or something like that, that you were able to step in and do it?
That's correct, but I think that's not the video you have. My first solo was also in Raimonda, but a smaller role. It was maybe 3 weeks into my stay in Russia, and someone got injured, as it happens sometimes in physical theatre and ballet. And my boss said to me, "Do you want to dance this role in Raimonda?" I was like, "Great. When is it?" He was like, "After tomorrow. 2 days time." 3 days time. I was like, okay. If that was in London, you'd like at least a month to rehearse it. They wouldn't let you near a stage without rehearsing for several months. So I had 2 or 3 days to learn these steps and practice. And I did it, and it was a bit terrifying, but the wings were full of people coming to see who's the new guy, what's he doing. And people were nice to me, they were supportive. The guy who danced the role the night before stayed in the wings with me, and he pushed me on stage at the right time and said, in broken English, do this, do that, like
get on stage.
Yeah, exactly. I got through the show, and then that was a solo role. Then I trained and worked. I gave him a coach. We trained very hard. The next 3 years, we learned repertoire, danced parts, and then after 3 years being in the company, I had my first principal role, which was in Giselle. And Giselle is it's one of the romantic ballets from the romantic period. And it's, even today, one of my favorite ballets. It's very beautiful, romantic. It's a lovely ballet. And it was the first big role my boss gave me, my first full-length ballet, carrying the title, the lead roles as the male dancer. And the day before the show, my partner broke her knee. And it was a horrible shock. She was doing some jumps, her solo, and she fell and broke her knee. And so that was the day before the debut. And so it was a double debut, in fact. And so one of the girls was walking through the studio, from the other studio, and said, "You, come here, you're on." And they put her in, and I rehearsed with this girl for an hour or something, and the next day we danced the show together. And it was quite an experience, but it was one of the most memorable experiences I've had, because it just came together like a dream, Like God's grace.
So in this clip, we're going to, the clip I think we're going to show you doing the solo in Giselle. So this is your first real, you're acclaimed, you're acknowledged as being, this is your big deal. Okay, let's watch it now, because this is so spectacular. It's just worth sitting back. Everybody else, sit back and just enjoy. Well, I don't know how you do it. You know how you do it, but it just looks wonderful. It's a feast for the eyes. Tell me about Yuri. You were talking about Yuri, but we've got a couple of lovely shots of you with Yuri after the show. And you clearly work very well together, don't you? And he's really been your mentor.
He has. He rescued me from. Well, I'm sure in London I've had a nice career, and I'm very grateful for my time in the Royal Ballet. But he gave me something so much better. He gave me the desire of my heart at the time to be an actual dancer, leading dancer. And this guy took me. I wasn't the best dancer around. I wasn't the strongest. I wasn't the most able. But he saw something in me that he knew he could work with, and I'm very grateful to him. He has encouraged me, helped me. We've had our ups and downs, difficulties. I've got injured. I've had problems. I've not been able to do a particular technique he wanted, but we've tried our best and come through difficulties. And he stuck with me, and I'm very grateful to him because he didn't need to. I wasn't somebody that he had to help.
No, but he did. He obviously saw something in you, and it's worked, hasn't it?
And he's one of the best teachers I've ever worked with. He's an incredible teacher, really incredible.
Tell me about the ballerinas that you work with. I mean, they always have a reputation for being difficult, don't they, ballerinas? I mean, I'm sure it's probably massively unfair, but are they difficult? And what happens if you disagree with them?
Well, we have a saying in the ballet world: the ballerina is always right, especially her coach. So that is absolutely correct. We always defer to the ballerina. The boy, in my opinion, and it's correct, the boy's job is to make the girl look good. We are there to support the ballerina, to keep her on her leg, to make her look good. Ballet is famous for women. I mean, there's plenty of male dancers who have become very famous, but at the end of the day, it's the ballerinas who are centre stage most of the time. We're there to support them. And your question about being difficult, it depends on the person. I've had some hard partners and some great partners. One of my favourite partners, especially from the last couple of years I've worked with, is called Maria Horova. She's become very famous on Instagram. She's a very young talent in the company, only 19, but she is one of the nicest people I've ever met, and one of my favourite partners. And she is incredible to work with, and she's such a lovely person. So it makes a big difference in the studio because you have good rapport, you can work together successfully, and it makes a good result on stage, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you say it's your job to make the ballerina look good, but then in most ballets, they usually always give the leading man his chance to be flamboyant, don't they?
Those are
wonderful. I mean, that's when your Nureyev have become. That's why they've become famous, because you do get your chance to shine. Yeah, in a great ballet, they always give you your room. But let's see you in a pas de deux with Maria Horova. Is that how you say it? Horova.
Yes, that's correct.
Horova. Yeah, who I know has become a regular partner, and I think this is from Raymonda as well, isn't it? And
yes,
this is a
Masha had her debut in December, so I guess it's probably from that. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at the pas de deux from Raymonda. Well, there you are. I mean, doing your thing, making the principal ballerina look wonderful. But I know you like a good fight scene, don't you? You like to do the aggression.
I do. I love a good fight scene. It's always, for any guy from any age, it's good to pick up a sword, have a good fight, especially on stage. You get paid for it. That's even better. I mean,
yeah, but it strikes me that dancing with a sword is really dangerous.
It can be, actually. We've had injuries on stage. People have had chopped fingers and all sorts, blood spatting around. Live theatre is good fun, I tell you.
Yeah. Well, the scene I saw you dancing in Romeo and Juliet was spectacular. I mean, what a wonderful ballet. Anyway, what a wonderful story. You get to be everything, don't you? You get to be the beautiful romantic prince, but you also get to be the troubled young man and the aggression in the scene.
In fact, you're correct. That's actually my very favourite classical ballet, because it has the whole range of emotions, like you were just saying. Everything is there, and it makes such a difference to have a ballet with something to really get into deep emotionally. It's a great joy to dance.
Anyone watching at home, and we've got viewers. I'm getting wonderful questions in, which we'll put to you in a minute. So anyone watching right now, if you want to put any more questions, keep them coming in. But we've got people from Surrey and London and Bristol, right through to practically every state in the United States, waiting to put questions to you. But before we do that, let's have a look at you in the fight scene from Romeo and Juliet. It's really spectacular. It's not a bit dangerous. Oh my goodness. I mean, honestly, I'm very surprised that none of you don't end up really badly injured. Do you dread injury?
Well, to be honest, I don't tend to think about it. As long as I take good care of myself, train properly, do a decent warm-up, stretch, and eat healthily. I take my vitamins, I take all my, multivitamins, etc. And I don't drink. I mean, almost never. Occasionally, of course, I've got a glass of wine or something, but I drink very little. I don't smoke. I try to take as little medication as possible, because I think it's not good for the body to have medication. It's not natural. So I try to be very careful with what I eat. I drink lots of water and rehydrate at rehearsals. And you get into a cycle of taking care of yourself and learning how to care for your body. It's your instrument, so you need to be very careful with it. And so I'm very careful to take good care of it.
Well, I know that you're very serious about your own personal philosophy, that your talent is a gift from God, and that you are just the caretaker of that talent for your life, and that you take that responsibility very seriously, don't you?
Oh, I do. I believe every good thing we have comes from God, and I'm very grateful to Him for giving me the possibilities to be where I am today. I assure you, I wouldn't be here today without God's help, and I'm very grateful to Him for all He's done for me. I wouldn't be here today without Him. And talent of any sort, it's all God given. God gives everyone abilities, talents, and it's our job to use them and to take good care of them. So I hope I'm being a faithful steward of what he's entrusted to me.
I love that word, steward. I just think it's so fascinating, the idea that there is this amazing talent and that you were born with it, which is, I mean, you could call it a burden, certainly a responsibility, and it is your job to steward that talent to the best of your ability until the end of your days. And then one day it may be reborn in somebody else. I just think that's wonderful.
Yeah, nice thoughts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
it is. Yeah, yeah. And you're not only doing what we've called classical ballet in the home of classical ballet. I'll ask a question in a minute. Somebody wants. I'll ask it in a minute. Hold on. But you're involved in some very, what I would call, modern dance.
Yes.
Not just dancing, but co-creating. And there's one I saw a clip of you in Touch the Light. Can you tell? God, I loved it. I mean, it's just a feast for the eyes. What is Touch the Light about?
Okay, so for a start, a bit of backstory. One of my close friends in the company, in the Mariinsky Ballet, a young Russian guy called Ilya Zhivoy. We've been good friends since I joined the company. In fact, past 10 years we've been friends, and the past few years he's become a very, very successful, very, very innovative choreographer. And being good friends, we've often worked together, and we've often Ilya's very grateful to him. He's used me to create his pieces on. He has quite a wide repertoire now. Even in the Mariinsky, he's only, I think, 30 years old. He's a young guy, and he's already highly successful. He's made a production of the Four Seasons. We have a festival in Switzerland that we go to every summer, even in the winter as well sometimes, called the Origin Festival, which is an amazing place. They have one venue, it's a red tower in the mountains in the Swiss Alps, just in the middle of nowhere, near St. Moritz, and it's just amazing. This tower is performance space, and Ilya made for me and a group of dancers already 2 ballets there, which we've performed for many audiences now, and we've had an amazing experience there. We're hoping to return this summer if everything will allow. But Ilya is an incredible guy, a huge talent, and his latest creation was called Touch the Light. It was for every year in the Mariinsky there's an evening of new choreography by the dancers themselves who want to become choreographers, and Ilya's already a pro at this, but he made a new ballet, a one-act ballet, about 25 minutes long, for 3 couples. And one of the couples was myself with Masha Horova, who you've seen me dance just now in Ramonda. And Ilya made this piece in a few weeks. We worked on it and put it on. It was our last performance before the virus closed down the theatre, so that was the last performance we had in the Mariinsky. And it was live broadcast live onto the internet, and so there's a copy of it for you to see, which you can, I guess, show.
That's why. Well, we'll just give everybody at home a chance to just look at a bit of it, because it is a spectacle. It is absolutely brilliant. This is Touch the Light. See, it was spectacular. Touch the light. So whether people love classical dancing or modern, there's something for everybody. Now, I want to ask you about something. Everybody, when they write about you, talk about the fact that you're 6'1",
yes,
which makes you apparently a very good partner for tall ballerinas, because they're already on point, aren't they? And also, what about this? Your feet. What is so spectacular about your feet? Everybody talks about your feet. What is it about your feet?
Well, I have very flexible feet and a high arch, and it makes for a nice line for classical ballet. So I've been blessed with good feet for ballet. Is what is, I guess, would
good
be.
feet for ballet. Well, it's a great start. I would have thought that. Very important.
Does help.
What is it like being a Brit in Russia, particularly at the moment? I know you're very proud of your British roots. Obviously, you're very proud of being a Brit, but you love Russia, and you believe that the two should get on better.
Absolutely, and my goodness, I think, and I've been here for 10 years now. I had no idea what to expect when I arrived here, and so I was really the guinea pig in my own head, coming here and experiencing Russia for myself. And we have a lot more in common than I realized. I mean, for a start, our royal family had a Russian connection and all that. We have
very close. Yeah.
I mean, I think I've often said to people, the Russians themselves, people who I've met on the street or talked to personally, they can seem cold, but once you get to know them, they're very genuine people. I mean, once you actually earn their trust, they are the most genuine people I've ever met. In fact, they're very similar to people from Yorkshire in my respect. How I see them. People from Yorkshire are very friendly. You go along the street for a walk, say, "How do? Have a good day. Nice to see you." Here in Russia, it's very similar. People are very friendly. There's a warmth from the people. They go the extra mile to help you. They'll do anything to help you. People are very kind here. I've had a lot of very kind people help me, because I couldn't have got by here without their help. I mean, I spoke no Russian. I didn't know what to do when I first arrived here. The people were very kind to me. People from the company who I didn't even know who they were, they would just help me, and I'm very grateful for that.
And it's interesting as well, because in Russia, they don't regard ballet as being posh, do they? Where we do, I'm afraid. I mean, ordinary people go to the ballet in Russia.
Yes, ballet is very much in the blood of the Russian people. It's in their hearts. It's in their culture. And what's so wonderful is the way it's passed down from generation to generation. So most Russians have been, from Petersburg especially, have been taken to the ballet, to Nutcracker, Shelkunchik, from being little children once a year at least by their babushka or by their parents. It's quite a tradition to go to the ballet as a family or so. And even when I go out front and watch the performances here, you see a difference in the audience. It's those who really love the ballet. People aren't dressed up. They don't look particularly smart often. They look very normal. They don't put on bow ties or bows and ties. They just go very casual. But they love the ballet, and they go and they enjoy it, and they know what they're watching. And they're a very hard audience to please, because they know what to look for. And if they don't like it, they'll let you know about it.
Weren't you in an Uber once? Uber driver knew you.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. When I was trying to learn Russian better, I used to sit in the front in an Uber, take an Uber around. I just chat to the drivers just to practice. And they always say, "Oh, you got a funny accent. Where are you from?" I was like, "Oh, I'm from England. Why are you here?" I was like, "Oh, I'm a ballet dancer in Mariinsky." This guy said, "Oh, I love the ballet. My girlfriend's a big fan of the ballet. We went last week to watch the Mariinsky. We went to a ballet called Diamonds by Jewels by George Balanchine." And I was like, "Oh, I danced actually last week in Jewels." He's like, "Oh, which bit were you in?" I was like, "I was in the third bit. I was in Diamonds." He was like, "Oh, he stopped the car, got his phone, and showed me." He's like, "I got some pictures from the curtain call." He zoomed in and showed me myself on his phone. I was like, "All right, that's me." That was really funny. But he was like honored to meet me. It was a bit strange, but it was really nice.
Oh, it's lovely. That's lovely. Well, that leads me beautifully to a question I wanted to ask you anyway, but we've got somebody asking it for me. Oh yeah, here we go. Carol in South Carolina. Hi there, Carol. She says, "Have you ever returned back to England or the West to dance since you've been in Russia?" And you have, haven't you? And there's a good story.
That's a great question. Yes, I have actually. Thankfully, the Mariinsky Theatre tour to London quite regularly. While I've been in the company here the past 10 years, we've had 3 major tours to London. So we have like a 2 or 3 week season in Covent Garden. So returned back to my old theatre, funnily enough. Our next tour to London's due, not this summer, but the one after, so 2021. We're due back to Covent Garden for another 2 or 3 week season in Covent Garden. So I can't wait for that. But actually, it was Yuri, my boss. It was our last tour to London in 2017, last time we were there, that he waited until that moment when I danced Swan Lake on the tour there in London to promote me after the show to principal dancer. So after 7 years in the company already, and he waited to that moment back in London just for irony's sake.
I know.
To promote me on the stage which I left.
Yeah, that's the stage where you were last Mother Pig.
Exactly. It was.
Yeah, absolutely. A lovely story. And let's not forget also, and I think we have a picture, that you were given an OBE by Prince Charles for your services to English-Russia relations, really, weren't you?
Exactly. I was so honoured to get it for that particular thing, because ballet is wonderful. It's a hard profession. I'm glad to represent ballet as a Brit here in Russia. That's a huge honour. But to be a tool in the mending and maintaining of relations between the UK, particularly, and Russia, is something I'm more proud of, to be honest, because we need more dialogue and more friendship with Russia. There's so much potential. Yeah. There's so much potential for good, and we need to be working together and not against each other. So that's what I know. There's a long way to go, of course, but I mean, that's what I want to promote.
But as ever, the politicians are one breed, and the people are
exactly,
really,
especially in Russia. That's very true.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Alison from Bristol. Hi, Alison. Says, oh, I've lost her now. She's zoomed away. Well, I'll find her in a minute. She said, I'll find
so many questions.
Yeah, they're all coming in. Why do you think so many of the world's greatest dancers have come from Russia? And the world's greatest ballet music?
That's a fantastic question. But for a start, it's not just the ballet. It's, as you said, the music and the designers, the painters. There's a huge history here of just talent. That St. Petersburg itself is just oozing with arts, architecture, culture, music. The Conservatoria. Tchaikovsky made his Swan Lake, his Nutcracker, his Sleeping Beauty here. I mean, Petipa came from France, of course, came to Russia, and they together collaborated to make these ballets that today are known all over the world. But they were born in the Mariinsky Theatre, and so Russia has a massive head start in terms of these things being in the blood, in the genes of the guys who are now being born to dance, and they're learning in the footsteps of those who were before them. And so
it's a history, it's a cultural history. And you say it's in the blood, but it does get into the blood if you can be in a centre of that amazing culture, which you're so lucky to be. Robert from Redwood City, I love this. How far off the ground are you jumping when you jump? How high?
I don't know. I haven't measured it, actually. I'm not sure. I mean, if I do a split leap, obviously legs would be above hip level, because if you stretch your legs into second as a splits, that's the level I'd be jumping up, obviously over that. So I'd maybe a bit higher than my waist, I presume. I mean, obviously, as with legs up, legs down, I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I know some of those spectacular photographs. I mean, it depends where the photographer is, but some of them look absolutely. I mean, look at those flying. You look like Concorde. Amazing.
Very talented photographers. Very talented photographers.
Oh, absolutely. They must have so many amazing frames per minute to catch you just at that moment.
Yeah.
Juliana from Boston in Massachusetts. How long do you think you're going to continue dancing, and what will you do when you stop dancing?
Great question. Well, I don't know, but I mean, I'm hoping I can have more years on the stage. Of course, every dancer wants to have a long career. Let's see what happens. I love dancing. I love being a performer. But actually, I love acting. In every ballet that I do, one of my favourite parts of any production or any role that I'm dancing is actually the character and the acting parts of the role. Particularly like in Romeo, like I was saying before, to become the character is always so fascinating. When I danced Giselle, for instance, and when I was Albrecht, you really think about the character, get into the role, and it's really special. Anyway, I'm saying that because this coming summer I have the opportunity to film a movie, and I'm very much looking forward to doing that. It's about Olga Spetsitsova, and we're going to be filming in August. It's about her life, and a biographical movie, and I'm going to be Anton Dolin in this film, and so that's what I'm looking forward to. So trying something new.
Yeah, acting as well. Who knows?
Who knows?
World could be your oyster still. Yeah. Right. Another good one. How has your fluency in Russian changed? This is from Kathy in Botel or Botel in hang on, what's WA in the States? WA, not Wyoming. Oh, I'm so bad. Anyway, she's in the States. Hi, Kathy. Forgive me. How has your fluency in Russian changed, both in speaking, reading, and writing? During rehearsals, are directions given in Russian? And are many of the dancers fluent in English?
Good question. I mean, I'm not. I've not been taught Russian. I've not gone to school to learn Russian, so I can't write in Russian. I can text message and do all that. I've not learned how to write. I've not had a language course, but I can speak. Not much grammar. That's the hardest thing. I can speak, and I can understand, particularly in the theatre, of course. For any dancer, that's what we're used to. I've been working in the theatre for 10 years there, and so yes, the rehearsals are in Russian, of course. Everything is given in Russian. Masha, my partner, who I dance with often, she speaks English completely fluently, and so often for us it's very easy just to speak in English together. She speaks amazing English. Everyone else, it's very rare to find someone who speaks any English at all, really. I mean, a bit, sure, but Masha's an exception. So
Kathy, I have to apologize to Kathy. That's Washington State, WA. We should have known that, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Should have known that. Sorry about that. Yes, Robert, in Winston, in Malibu, or I think it's Robert Winston, maybe, in Malibu, anyway, in California. How much training do you have to sustain weekly? Difficult at the moment, but how much training do you normally do?
Well, that's the thing. The Mariinsky probably works more than any other, certainly any company in the West, without a doubt. We have a schedule that would make most dancers' eyes water. We work from early September until early August. So that's our season. That is our season. Every month we have probably 40 performances, at least, plus tours. The company is 240 strong, and so we can split in half. Half can go on tour, or maybe do a US tour, for instance. Half will stay at home. There are always shows back in here. And now we have three. Yeah. We have three venues here in St. Petersburg: the Mariinsky 1, 2, and 3. 3 is the concert hall. The Mariinsky 1 and 2, there's always a ballet or an opera on pretty much every night in one of those two venues. Wow. And so, if we're in Mariinsky 1 as a ballet company, the opera is in Mariinsky 2, or vice versa. We have obviously we have many principals and soloists, so I don't dance every performance. We share out the roles. Maybe I have between 4 and 6 shows a month, which doesn't sound much, but that's actually a lot. When you're trying to, it's different roles. In the West, companies do blocks of shows. They'll do 20 Swan Lakes, for instance, and then maybe 15 Nutcrackers. Yeah. We don't do that. We have a rolling repertoire, so we're always doing repertoires in rep. So we'll have one day Swan Lake, the next day's Raimonda, the next day's a balancing program, the next day's Pattern Back Chisarai, the next day's Labaida, next day's Corsair, and it goes like that all month, all the time.
All the time.
So we are
and
constantly rehearsing.
Are the theatres always full? I mean, do people come?
Yeah, absolutely. We very rarely have space in the auditoriums. Ballet is very popular here, and we're very.
A lot of people watching right now, as you know, are Viking faithful.
Yeah.
People who go on cruise after because they haven't met them. It's wonderful. And I know that so many people are just dying to come to Russia. What would be the best time, would you say, to come? And what should they see?
Oh, good question. Well, I mean, in my opinion, you can't make a wrong choice. Everyone goes to the White Nights because it's the most famous. The White Nights, if you don't know about it already, is the period of time from about late May, early June till end of July, beginning of August, where the sun doesn't really go down, so it's still light at 1 a.m. for instance. You can walk around the streets and it's like daylight, and so it's very beautiful because you can walk around the canals, go to the museums. It's daylight and it's 1 a.m. even 2 a.m. It gets a little bit dusky around 2, 3. It's quite amazing. But then as this is tourist time, it's hot weather, it's nice, museums are packed. I personally recommend coming in the winter because it's a bit different. I love the long icicles, the frozen canals, the Neva River is frozen solid. I mean, it's like being in some sort of fairy tale, like a winter wonderland.
Yeah.
For me, that's more interesting. I like that more.
Yeah. And then you should definitely come to the Mariinsky,
Well,
because I've never seen a theatre. I don't think I've ever seen a theatre so beautiful. And I've never been. I've only looked at the videos, but it is spectacular, isn't it?
it is a gorgeous theatre, particularly the Mariinsky 1, the historic theatre. The Mariinsky 2, our new one, is a powerful opera house. It's a great place to watch opera and ballet. But for the soul of Russia, you need to come to the Mariinsky 1. It's the place to watch ballet.
Just finally, before I say goodbye, because we've been talking for a full hour and I can't believe that I could talk to you for hours, but just when you step out as the principal dancer onto the same stage where Nureyev and Baryshnikov and others, huge, famous global names, and you're dancing what they dance on that stage, you must get a shiver down your spine.
Yeah, it's, often it's the moments where you'll do your variation, you'll jump, you'll dance, you'll part of the girl in some acting, and maybe you've got to lie on the floor for a second while the girl does something, like in Paquita, for instance. You're in a jail scene, you're lying on the floor in the hay, waiting for your solo, and you look up, and you just see this blackness with gold sparkling back at you, the Tsar's box in front of you, and the stage lights coming down, capturing the glint of the gold. And you're like, wow, where am I? What year is this? It's like, it's something extraordinary. It's a huge privilege. For me as a foreigner, particularly as a Westerner, it's an enormous privilege to be part of this history and this place.
You are actually, I think, now you've been there so long, you are actually part of the history now. So whether you like it or not, you are you're part of the tapestry. It's been brilliant to talk to you. I could talk to you for so long. It's such fun. We had one comment from somebody saying, "Oh, you have so changed my whole idea about ballet," which is lovely, isn't it? Because people do still have this idea that ballet isn't for them. But I think meeting you would definitely change their minds. And seeing you. Yeah, absolutely. It was a decision well worth taking all those years ago. I look forward to coming out to St. Petersburg and meeting
I'm waiting for you.
When we can all get out again. Oh,
come back.
I will have a bottle of champagne on ice and I'll bring it to your dressing room.
Excellent. I'll look forward to it.
It's been lovely to talk to you, Xander. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute privilege. But enjoy the rest of lockdown. Keep practicing, and we will see you in fine form, in a few months' time, maybe. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye. And bye-bye to everybody at Viking who's watching right now. Thank you for joining us for this Thursday, and we'll have somebody wonderful for you to meet again next Thursday too. Bye-bye.